Okay. Here are my audience members. And then here's my first note card. Here's my second note card. Here's my third note card. And here is my fourth note card. Okay. So today I will be talking about SeaWorld and the benefits and the harms that they do. So I'm sure you've all heard of SeaWorld. It's located in both California and Florida. It's a family theme park that focuses on marine life through their attractions, their memorabilia, their rides, all of that. But what is lesser known or ignored is the mistreatment that they put their animals through, which ultimately leads to the mistreatment of the employees and guests as well. The people that go and support SeaWorld need to be educated or more aware on the hidden antics of SeaWorld and the mistreatment of the animals that they claim that they are bettering and providing for. SeaWorld should either change their entire intention of operation or close down altogether on all platforms. I've done research through online articles, watched animal activist interviews, watched films and documentaries to strengthen my position on this topic. First, I will go over the mistreatment of animals and the lack of benefits that they actually provide to their animals and ultimately their employees and their guests. Secondly, I will go over the options SeaWorld has as solutions to better themselves and the community. And lastly, I will go over how the future will look with these solutions in effect. To begin, I watched a documentary called Blackfish. It was released in 2013, and it focuses on an orca from SeaWorld named Tilikum that they kidnapped at the age of 2. He ultimately became super aggressive, living in captivity, and ultimately killed 3 different people on 3 different occasions throughout the years. He was super aggressive and was insubordinate as well. But then ultimately died from an own bacterial infection from a cage that he was kept in at SeaWorld. Then Natasha Daly, a National Geographic writer and reporter, states, "Orcas are social animals, meaning that they have a high social intelligence and are familiar with swimming vast distances while close in pods," which is the opposite of what SeaWorld does. They are kept in tanks that are less than twice their size, so they're reduced to just swimming in circles if they can even do that. Orcas are said to need to swim up to 40 miles a day to reduce stress, but since this is next to impossible to do this in a tank, the orcas are grinding their teeth and ramming their heads against the sides of the tanks just because they're so stressed out, which causes more issues with their health. And then, according to the Whale and Dolphin Conservation, while in SeaWorld care, 166 orcas have died. Amongst those deaths are orcas who were bred in captivity, stillborn, or those who didn't live past 2 months old. Normally orcas live up to 80 years old, but in SeaWorld they're only living at around 30 years old, and not one orca in SeaWorld's care has died from old age. They're all dying from either bacterial infections or just enduring the treatment of what they're kept in. And then lastly, Corinne Henn, an animal activist, states, "If they continue to operate, they should allocate a larger amount than 1% of their profits to animals and habitat conservation." SeaWorld claims that they are the best at rehabilitation for their animals and releasing them into the wild, but which is untrue because they're only allowing 1% of their profit to go towards this, but they are also making the animals dependent on humans so that they don't know how to hunt anymore. So even if they did release them back into the wild, that they wouldn't live, they wouldn't know how to hunt, they wouldn't know how to do anything. So that just gives them even more of a reason to stay in captivity. And then now that I've gone over all of the reasons that SeaWorld claims that they are bettering the animals, when in reality that they are not, they're just putting these animals in more danger, I'll go over the solutions that SeaWorld has as options to better themselves. But the first option would be to close altogether all the platforms, which is the parks, the rehabilitation centers, just the name SeaWorld as a whole, just to shut it all down. Then, in result of this, the orcas would return to the wild, have a normal life and lifespan, and then no harm to the animals or the employees or the guests would happen. And then, or SeaWorld can operate without the marine involvement. They could keep the name and the rides and the theme, but not have actual marine involvement. There would be no more marine shows, there would be no more rehabilitation centers. Just ultimately, the theme park would operate with no animals, actual animals. which benefits the lives of the animals and ultimately the lives of the employees and the guests as well, because no one's put in indirect or direct harm. But it still gives the family-friendly theme park on both coasts of the United States. And with these, now that I've gone over the solutions that they have as options, here are some ways that we can visualize the future if these are in effect. The no employees or guests would be put in potential danger, and the animals will live longer, fuller, more prosperous life in the wild, away from humans, and away from just living for public entertainment. Today, I was able to inform you on how SeaWorld handles marine life, actions that they can take to stop mistreatment and danger, and how the future can look if the way SeaWorld operates today changes. I went over the mistreatment that the animals endured, I went over the solutions that SeaWorld has as options, and I went over the visualizations of the future if these options were taken into effect. And then ultimately, to change the way that SeaWorld operates is just to not turn a cheek to the mistreatment of the animals and not look at these theme parks as just a way for public entertainment, but when in reality that these animals are dying because of it. It is a money pit, and they don't care about their animals like they say they do. They're just looking for you and families going there for family entertainment as a way to keep funding the ways that they treat these animals. And the only way to change that is not to turn the other cheek in this maltreatment. Thank you. And here are my last two audience members.